Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but I'm pulling out some archives here. March of 2021, we had the largest Patel's Fresh Kitchen, largest Indian grocery store retail brand in the country, and we appreciate them, Patel Brothers, for being on the cover. Let's see how big this issue was. This was 152 pages, and let's see what I was doing. Oh, I was doing some Habitat for Humanity. I went to University of Denver, and they have a pretty good alumni chapter here in Atlanta, and we went downtown and helped clean up some local community vegetable gardens. And man, was it hot that day! I think DU was playing Notre Dame in the playoffs when we were cruising in there. But anyway, I was sweating my tail off in the humidity in the South. But it's always nice to kind of have that look at the magazine in my hands. But we went digital. Last issue we printed was August of 2021 when we had White Castle, their largest facility restaurant that they had built, on our cover, and haven't looked back since. Don't miss the printer. Don't miss the post office. It's been an amazing ride going from print to face, and last year we had almost 49 million people hit or have interactions on the site with it, and a couple of million unique users over the year. And my heart, I'm indebted to all of you out there that find us on the web and on Google. So we really appreciate you consuming the content. We do our best to get interesting copy for you to digest and surf on the web. So we really appreciate you out there. But hopefully, listen, it's the last week of the first month of Q1, and rock and roll in February 2025 is waiting for us out there. Beautiful day here in North Georgia. I'm going up to La Lotte this afternoon to check my drywall out. We just started on our drywall phase, our empty nester house, and probably living in drywall for the next 10 days or so. After they get it up, they cut, they mud, they sand, they let it dry, and then make sure everything's perfect before we paint, and then it's all downhill from there, putting the little jigsaw puzzle together. But what an exciting build it's been, and I'm probably going to build that house in about 7, 8 months. So it's exciting, and we'll give it a nice splash in the magazine too, in the residential column that we've added to the to CCR magazine. But uh, anyway, I hope everybody's having, like I said, a great week. Super Bowl's coming up. You got Kansas City and the Eagles. You got lacrosse season starting this weekend for all D1, D2, and D3. And my Piedmont Pio alum, so looking for the Pios to get off their winning ways. The ice hockey team, I think we're ranked number 6. We split with Minnesota Duluth this weekend, and the Pios are ranked. The lacrosse team is ranked number 10, and I forget what the women's are, but they're both top 10 ranked teams. So good luck to both of those teams out in Denver, and hopefully they'll get to the Final Four in May, and bring another national championship back to the campus. So today I have a nice gentleman. He's out in Vancouver, Canada, or is it Washington? Where are you?
It's Vancouver, Canada for this week.
Okay, all right. Because I know there's Vancouver, Washington. So great.
Yes.
But I'm going to introduce our mystery guest here in a second. I do have a little PSA announcement. My resolution this year was to sleep better. Last year I ran over 2,000 miles. I was doing about 5 or 7 miles a day, doing a little video. And this year I went from my positive thought to my word of the day. And my biggest thing was I wasn't getting enough sleep. I'm 61 years old, and as you get older, you don't sleep as much, and you want to make sure your mind stays clear. And I don't like taking the vitamins that make you jittery, and coffee. I just don't like that buzz. So last year I did a PSA announcement on a thing called Magic Mind, and the owner of the Magic Mind. Well, they reached out to me, hey, could you promote us on your channel? So I said, well, look, I don't do anything unless I try it. So they sent me some of the elixir. This is made out of 12 natural compounds, and it basically makes you think clearer in the morning. It sharper, calmer, you're collective, and you don't get that caffeine buzz. And what happened to him and the owner, he went to the doctor and he was stressed and he was drinking too much caffeine. So he did all this research and found all these organic compounds that were out there. And this is how they came with the elixir. And what they call these things are shots. You do a shot in the morning. I mean, listen, you could take a half a shot in the afternoon if you need a little pick me up. That's fine. But it's all natural. It's not addicting, and it takes a couple days for it to get in your system. But once you do, you will definitely see a difference in just your clarity and how you feel in the morning and the afternoon. It makes your days go so much quicker. But they came out with a sleep aid, and this is the elixir that you take a shot about 30 minutes before you go to bed at night. Most important thing is you have to unplug. You got to unplug your phone. You got to get off the TV, and you will sleep awesome. Once a day. It takes a couple days to get in your system, so you're used to it. But this is an awesome, awesome gig. And I'll put the bundle package discount code in the description. But if you want to check it out, well worth it. I think Sprouts, HEB, and there's one other drugstore that or grocery store that carries it, but normally have them in the refrigeration cases. But I'm telling you, if you want to be relaxed during the day and crystal clear and get a good night's sleep, and sleep is so important, uh, do a shot in the morning, do a shot before you go to bed. You're going to feel awesome. And everybody's different, and everybody's chemistry is different. So, but something to think about if you haven't had any illusions, sleep is a really, really good thing for your body. So, with that said, I've got a nice gentleman. He's out of Vancouver, Washington or Canada. I forget. What did you just say?
It's Vancouver, Canada this
Yeah,
week.
Vancouver, Canada. One of my favorite places, Whistler Blackcomb. I was a bomber back in the day. Love skiing up there. Nicest people, good lacrosse, and good hockey too. Way to go, Canucks. So uh, my Rick is he's with Siplast, and he's director of Green and Amenity, and he basically deals with green roofs and making the best use of their space. Am I correct, Rick?
Yeah, so the program is certainly vegetated roof, but also amenity deck. So when you think pool deck or occupiable space over membrane, and then any kind of overburden that might be associated with that, and some membrane related products as well.
Yeah. So the reason why I had Rick on is because sustainability is such a big gig these days with whether it's a new build or reuse. And there are so many roofs out there that don't get the use that they should. And A, it's architecturally stimulating. B, it's sustainable. You can make it look so much greener. Having plants and green roof, you can have collection for water. It's all of those things. He's the expert, but I'm very familiar with it, so I'm going to let him talk about it. So the way that we're going to do it is we're going to do this episode in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, brothers, sisters, played any sports, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today. Then we'll talk about lessons learned of the roller coaster that we've all been on over the last 4 to 5 years. And even though we've come out of the tunnel, there's some potholes and speed bumps and hindrances in the way. And then you'll leave your contact info and then one positive thought or phrase. So, with that said, Rick, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you, David. So as you mentioned, I'm in Vancouver, Canada right now, but I reside in San Diego County. So I grew up in suburban Chicago, so northwest suburbs of Chicago, about 26 miles outside in a town called Arlington Heights, and went to school at University of Illinois for landscape architecture. So my interest in horticulture, gardening, very residential initially, and as I entered the program at U of I, kind of really was my eyes open to the expanse and all the different disciplines that kind of fall within landscape architecture, which has been kind of the foundation of my career, and I've certainly done everything I can to stay close to the profession. I practiced for about 10 years, both in the Chicago market, high-end residential design, and then also in Denver. So I spent a few years in Denver, as it looks like you did there by your DU sign behind you.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, great town. But
My parents had a house up in Vale for like 30 years, and when I was younger, my parents used to take me out of school way back and like as soon as I could walk or out of diapers, I could they put me on skis and skates, and I learned how to ski in Buttermilk up in Aspen. But we had a house out in Vale forever, so when it came time for me to go play hockey in college and lacrosse, I was going to go to Northeastern, and I ended up at DU, and it was awesome in the 80s, kind of during the recession, with interest rates at
mhm.
18% and all that. But Denver was an unbelievable town. And now it's just, you go back and it's unbelievable the amount of construction and urban sprawl that they've done between Denver and Colorado Springs. And it's really cool to get back there. I'll tell you, when you move away and you're a ski bum, and then when you go back and ski, you can totally appreciate it much, much more. You're spoiled.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it. So sorry to break in on there, but
No, no, it's great. It was a lifelong dream for me. I grew up skiing, but in the Midwest, it's a little different than skiing out in the Rockies. And so after school, I worked for a firm for about 6 months. And once winter hit and we started to snowplow, because
yeah.
you're not out there doing other work. I was like, if there's going to be snow on the ground, I'm going to be skiing on it. So I moved out west, fulfilled that dream, and actually worked in community development for a couple of years from 2006 to 2008 before the market kind of crashed and we didn't have, there's a lot of empty houses sitting out there in community development. I think most of those are full now. As you mentioned, the city's certainly grown a lot. But
History repeats itself though, because when I went to school out in Denver, the oil boom the oil boom was over, and all of the buildings that they had just built downtown, they were all empty. I mean, there was nothing down there. There was Lammer Square. We had like one bar, the Comedy Works, and that was about it.
sure.
We didn't have a baseball team yet. The Denver Zephyrs were like the minor league team, and uh, the Donkeys were still playing in Mile High Stadium, and DU, we were actually the Rockies came in, they were awful. They ended up moving up to Quebec, and then they came back, but it was it was an amazing time, to be in there. And you're a skier, so you'll appreciate this. When I was at school out there, I used to have a thing called the Ski Americard, and it was $1. And I could go up during the week and ski Arapahoe Basin, Loveland Pass, Mary Jane, Winter Park. And I'd be able to, and in DU, everybody took classes Tuesday and Thursdays during ski season. So you had to get up early to get those classes because you could ski Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and come back. And who doesn't want to ski for $1? Especially if it's
Exactly.
crowder. And I could make it up to Loveland Pass in probably 45 minutes. But those days are over. I don't even know what a lift ticket is these days. Probably $250, maybe 300. Who
Yeah,
knows?
you're not far off. You're not far off. It's a pricey endeavor for sure.
Yeah.
Um, But after a couple of years out west and living the dream, my family was still in the Chicago area, so I moved back and kind of settled down a little bit and worked in a multidisciplinary landscape architecture, urban planning firm for a couple of years before I made the jump to manufacturing. And so at that point, I actually had a civil engineer friend who had made the transition from working for an engineering firm to a manufacturer. And for whatever reason, that kind of stuck in my head. And I reached out to a company by the name of American Hydrotech, who had posted a job and to become a vegetated roof technical sales coordinator. So that was kind of my foray into working for manufacturers and understanding vegetated roof systems and membranes. And so I worked with that company for about 10 years in two different capacities in that technical sales coordinator role, which again was great, right? It was my experience into really a hybrid between technical understanding and sales, right? And going out and supporting our sales reps at the time, their knowledge. A lot of them had great roofing, waterproofing backgrounds, but they didn't have true understandings of vegetated roof systems. And so,
Sure. Mhm.
obviously, as a landscape architect, I speak that language. And we chased after and identified landscape architects as really a key customer base. And so, in addition to working with architects, consultants, waterproofing installers, now you're working with landscape architects and landscape contractors are overburdened installers. So a little bit different, focus there for them with a roofing background. And then I moved. My family and I, we moved at the time my daughter was one. We were in Chicago, and my wife, my daughter, and I moved out to San Diego. Took a sales manager position, so made the full transition into sales. A great experience for me. Really, getting the hands dirty, and then made the jump to Siplast about 2 years ago to help build out our vegetated roof, amenity, and stormwater solution program.
I've been a sponsor for the International Roofing Expo for forever, and I
Mhm.
remember when I don't know how many years. Well, I'm giving my age away, but hey, I'm 61. I'll be 62 this year, so I've been around for 25 years with my magazine. But I remember when green roofs were just starting, and only a couple of vendors or manufacturers had that, a division or incorporated into their gig, and everybody was trying to get into, being, sustainable, environmental friendly, and one by one, everybody had their hands in that green roof gig, and
Mhm.
now it's become its own little, business network because everybody wants to be sustainable. And if you've got a roof, and you've got an X amount of square footage, and you as a landscape architect can plan it correctly, it's just an add-on, whether you're going to build that building or if you're going to lease some space in it. It's just an add. It's a really, really nice feature just to have single ply membrane up there or asphalt roof. Am I right? I mean, it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's a myriad of benefits for vegetated roofing, and actually, stormwater management is the single biggest driver of vegetated roofing worldwide because of their ability to retain stormwater with the introduction of additional components, detain stormwater. So it's not just I always thought it's just cool doing landscape on structure, right? Like
Right.
from an purely aesthetic standpoint, it can be an extremely cool feature of a project, or making horizontal space part of the building footprint, especially in really dense areas, making it occupiable through amenity systems. But we can add in these other technical benefits, be it stormwater management or the insulative properties, or um, all the environmental benefits, reduction of the urban heat island effect. And so it really has transitioned from, a novelty and kind of a niche market to, we have cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago that have vegetated roof mandates because they see the tangible benefits of these systems, and not only what they bring to the building, helping an owner meet maybe their permitting requirements or project objectives, but also the surrounding community.
Green roofs definitely with erosion control and the water runoff, within your gutters and so forth. It's amazing what some plants and some soil and what have you, and if it's, built correctly with the membrane underneath, you can capture that water. You don't have to get it wasted coming off, off the roof. It's got so many advantages. And like I said, everybody wants to be like right now, we're building a house up on the lake. We're trying to be as green as possible. And
Mhm.
right now we're trying to figure out, do we want to get the barrel on the side of the house, and we want to be sustainable. With the power goes out, we want to have a solar generator, and all of those things are just nice assets to have, whether you're a residential or commercial property. But the green roofs, like I said, roofing people never even thought of it 20 years ago, and now everybody's kind of got their hands in it because it like I said, it's diverse. It's got all its applications. And you being a landscape architect, you can take of all those things and put it all together in a nice package for someone that they would never dream of what it could look like up there, let alone being able to capture water and all the other items. So hats off to as far as that goes. How did you decide on landscape architecture as when you were going into study? I mean, were you into
Well,
it before, or?
yeah, I mean, my original interest was really working in the backyard with my mom in the garden. As kind of nerdy as that sounds.
I like it.
I like the smell of dirt. I like getting my hands dirty. I still enjoy it. I don't know the plants as well as I used to after, 10, 12 years now of working for, full systems and more membrane related, and a lot of technical concerns, which I kind of miss. and certainly I know more plants in the Midwest than I still do now in San Diego. But it was something as, humble really is that, and kind of drove. I remember my college application had a picture of like a pond that we built and a small write-up in the Arlington Heights newspaper, which again is just such small potatoes compared to some of the projects that I've had the privilege of being involved in over the last 15 years. But that was, part of my essay and application at U of I, and I think really why I ended up in the program is not a lot of people apply as freshmen because nobody really knows about the profession. And so I kind of had that leg up that you had maybe 15, 20 people out of, a freshman class of 8,000 that actually wanted to go into landscape architecture. So people found out about it, as they got in, and our class sizes, grew as you got into sophomore and junior year. But
Hey, it's all the little things. Those,
yeah,
the half hour you spent out there planting some beans or carrots with your mom, and here, it rubbed off, and here you are, designing, huge buildings with a rooftop that's got the green garden and whatever else on there. That's really cool to me. Because
yeah. It was a great foundation, and now I make a point to do it with my daughters. We have, um, our house in San Diego. We have some terrace gardens to deal with the grade in the back, and so it's all, vegetables and just getting them familiar with their plants and, seeing the reward that they get from, growing their own beans or tomatoes and, eating fruits and vegetables right out of the yard is it's still a very cool thing to me.
Well, San Diego's got awesome weather. Fog in the
Yep.
morning, it burns off, beautiful weather. You
Yep.
really have the seasons in Illinois, so you get X amount of yeah, you're still going to collect water on a green roof in Chicago, but but you're going to get much more use of it as in the spring and the summer than you are in the fall and the winter. But down in San Diego, you probably get it all year long, depending, and that's the beauty of it.
Yep.
You can get it all year long, but it's still going to collect water, and if it's done correctly, it'll be efficient. Um, let's take a jaunt back. March of 2020, cranes everywhere, construction going crazy, and then all of a sudden, boom, we all get hit by the two by four. Everything kind of goes kaput, and talk about some of the lessons that you learned, how you weathered that storm over the last 4 or 5 years, even though we've come out of the tunnel, that some of our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk would like to, kind of hear your take on it and how you guys weathered it and you've come out to it. And then, any, trends or anything or cool projects that you're working on right now.
Yeah. So, like a lot of other manufacturers in the building material industry, roofing, waterproofing certainly had their raw material shortages, and then finished goods, shortages available to contractors. So I think as a supply chain, and I'm probably saying something super obvious here, but as a supply chain, I think we learned a lot of lessons about how we stock, right? We've gotten pretty thin on the amount of material that we needed to warehouse and more of a manufacturing to order type of situation to alleviate overhead and I think some of those safeguards have now come back into place. So that's kind of broadly speaking. I think, what I took away from it once we got past the initial fear, because we all fear the unknown. But what I took away from it is the construction industry just inherently is resilient, and you have a lot of great people. And I continue to be amazed by the quality of people that are willing to sit down and work through an issue, be it supply chain shortages, some logistical challenges when you're dealing with lockdown situations to keep projects moving and keep that end goal in sight. And so, I think it was when I look back on it again, getting past the fear, it was really heartening to to understand that spirit is still there because I think we get caught up in not just a technology thing, but our phones, how busy our day to day is, and I was pretty heartened looking back on a lot of the process.
Yeah. Listen, I've talked to so many people. I just bought my mic in March of 2020. I was going to out and do these interviews on construction sites. That was my gig. I was traveling. I was going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And boom, and had to make the, the decision. And so many people that I've talked to over the last, 4 to 5 years, they've all said, we had some of the best years. I learned so much about our people, our company, and that, if they could find more superintendents or project managers, they probably would have done more projects. But, you can't bite off more than you can chew, especially if they're not available out there. And, some people, they just don't want to make the move. But labor was an issue. However, so many people had so many great years. And the biggest thing I think that happened was that a lot of people found out that there's more than work for your whole day. You got to have a life balance in there. And and now the big thing is, how do you get your people to come back to work if they were working remotely out of their homes? They want to go to baseball games, they want to go to the park, they want to go sit at the beach, they want to go fishing, they don't want to go back to the office. So you want to get them back, and I get it because you want to have that company culture, and there's nothing like face to face. And but this technology is not going anywhere, and it's kind of a once again, it's a life balancing. Do you go hybrid? Do you make your people come in? If they've proven themselves, do you let them stay at the house? And I was working out of my house anyway, so it really didn't bother me.
Hmm.
Some people are made, they have to go into the office. But getting back to your comment about the contractors, I'm telling you, the contractors, depending on what state you were going with the regulations in construction, they put their masks on, they got on the plane, they went out, especially if it was a must-do construction site that had to get finished, whether it was a hospital or a fire department, it was built, it was tagged as essential, that those people got on the planes, they got in the cars, and they kept on going. And projects, life goes on. So I look at all of my comrades out there in the construction industry. I mean, we had three essential projects going that I watched go up. It was an old folks homes, it was a fire department, and then there was a hospital wing getting built. And all of those projects, were necessities. So you had really no choice. And listen, you were in California. The restrictions were a little tighter than they probably were here in Georgia. And that really determined, the if your plan was going to go forward, or how much time it was going to take, or how many precautions or safeguards on the site that you had to take advantage of. Let me
Yeah,
ask you.
of the 20, sorry,
Go ahead. No, no, go
of
ahead.
the, maybe I was gonna say of the 20 to 25 projects we, maybe had going at any one time, I'd say, we had a couple days here, a couple days there on one of them that might have been shut down. But even then, I mean, they continue to progress the project. So it's pretty impressive actually.
So you're out there in California. You're into green roofs, both commercially and residentially. We just had the fires, up in LA. So,
Hmm.
you being in green roofs, all of those homes that have to get rebuilt, hopefully they'll get the permitting streamlined and all that stuff and get people going. But
Sure.
you as a green roofer, you would like to see a lot of roofs in some of those homes or buildings and, incorporated, right?
Yeah, I think you could certainly make a case that it might help. There are additional considerations when we're dealing with fire, and roofing waterproofing membranes are what's rated for fire, not necessarily the vegetated roof system. You clearly don't want to be planting it with things that are more apt to burn.
Hmm.
So sedums and succulents, which tend to retain more water, which don't quite burn at the same rate. That said, there are a lot of things that contributed to that issue. And at that point, a lot of those fires weren't, maybe they started as wildfires, but, they really became urban fires as you had fire jumping house to house, structure to structure, and perhaps structures that maybe weren't up to current, probably safe to say, weren't up to current fire code. And you had vegetation that, I saw plenty of imagery where the vegetation looked, at grade, looked like it was, unharmed. So there's a lot of considerations there, probably for a different chat.
Yeah, my thing is that whenever, like, we just had Helene, I had two hurricanes come through Atlanta.
Mhm.
Well, one
Sure.
went across Florida, went Asheville, a couple hours north of me, and just complete destruction. And as they rebuild and get there, it's just like the hurricanes down in Florida. My thing is, look, it's a negative, it's a bummer, but now we have a chance as a product manufacturer like you are, and just in general, the building codes, maybe to get rid of storm surge, you got to build these homes up high enough so they don't get flooded out, as well as have structures that can handle 150, 180, 200-mile-an-hour winds, as well as the roof staying in place. And just like out west, it's very, listen, it's the desert, California. It's a very, very, arid place. It's not very moisture wise. It's not like Vancouver where you are right now, where it's nice and green. So looking at that if there was a way that not to make it mandatory, but if someone was going to put a roof on and there was an ability to put a green roof on there, it could be both security as well as architectural and sustainable as well by collecting water and all those other things. And a lot of those people are out there, they've already got that mindset, but it would be great as you fly over. If you're coming into like when you fly into San Diego, you come through downtown, but you go over, and you could see some houses, a lot of homes with green roofs. I think it would be good for everybody, the planet and the homeowner or the commercial guys, because there were commercial facilities that burned as well. So
Absolutely.
there's opportunity.
I'd love to see it too. But again, a lot of considerations that go into that. I think, resilient structures in general, you go, I think a tendency when we have a disaster like that, be it Helene or the wildfires, to build back as quickly as possible. And I think if we do that, even streamlining permits, we have to be able to put up housing and streamline that process and remove some of the bureaucracy from it. But we also have to do it intelligently. Otherwise, we're apt to, as you said earlier in our chat, history repeats itself. And so knowing what we know now, what additional measures can we put in place, codes can we put in place that make our structures more resilient, more resistant to some of these natural disasters, which seem to be occurring at a greater frequency.
How is the permitting process affected if you decide to put in a green roof, whether it's in a commercial application or is it residential? Is it kind of just an add-on? It doesn't really, or does it add a little time? Or
It really depends. So if we're utilizing the vegetated roof to meet a stormwater management requirement, which in our major urban centers is pretty common, then it has to go in as part of the permitting because it's part of the stormwater management plan for the project. So at that point, we're pretty early on. We're a lot of times, we've gotten through design development, construction documents are probably still ongoing, but it's relatively early in the process, and that's one of the things we do at Siplast is help facilitate actual quantifiable calculations because it's great to talk about these things conceptually. Yeah, we can do that. We can manage stormwater, but the permit requires a quantifiable value or volume, and so we have to show how we can actually meet those requirements.
yeah, listen, stormwater runoff in our empty nester house that we're building, our neighbor, his gutter water was coming off into our land, and I had an easement on the corner of my lot where the stormwater was, and the grader's like, "Hey, listen, David, man, your ground's not gonna be flat, but if you take that stormwater over and you move it over, and then we run a pipe to it, Kirby can, that's my neighbor's name's Kirby, and Kirby can handle, you don't want to have his water running in there. You have two options. You can run a pipe to it, or you can make it like a natural, like a little river of the water coming off. But he had a lot of water coming off there. And
Mhm.
so we got the county to come out. They approved it. We put the pipe in. The guy came out and he said, "Okay, you can cover it. Just make sure when you run, depending on if you're going to do the riverbed or if you're going to put the pipe in there, just make sure that I see a picture of it and we'll put it on file." But the we're in a Podunk County just north of Georgia, but they're very concerned about, erosion. It's a big, big thing. They don't like your silt fence not, flapping, and they come in and they're like, "Hey, you need to put a little more hay on your lawn." I'm like, "I'm gonna be done in 2 months." No, no, no. Get the hay guy, put it down there. We don't want to see any mud in the streets. And I understand, I totally get it. So but it was it was interesting when we went through the thing because you got your neighbor, you got the county, you got the grader, you got the inspector. Everybody's got their hands in there and they want to make sure everything is. And it's just like a little,
Yeah.
and you're laughing, but I was like,
Yeah.
so it was,
No, the intent is right. There's probably a
yeah,
few too many hands, but yeah, I mean, you said it like the volume can it just grows exponentially. Even on a residential condition like you're talking about, and then if you're to translate that, so you understand now at that level, if you translate that to 100,000 square foot building footprint and think about the runoff coming off of that, even in a small event storm, is significant. And so, the issue we run into in our major urban centers is that we have outdated stormwater infrastructure, it just doesn't have the capacity, right? Our
Yeah, it doesn't have
impervious
to handle the water. Mhm.
doesn't have the capacity to handle it. And so, when I was living in Chicago or as I've seen in LA, we get, even a small rain event, you get smaller flooding a lot of times, but flooding around your storm drains because it can't take it all at the same time. And so by by slowing that down, we call that peak flow reduction. By
Mhm.
slowing that down at the really the point where the water's hitting the structure with a green roof, we're a lot of times eliminating a lot of runoff off of that roof. We can integrate additional tools, be it flow control drains or other detention tools to really slow that down, release the water over time, and take that flooding out of the equation for our urban centers.
So as we go into January 2025 and we go through the year and the roofing show's coming up here in February, uh what trends do you see, for the green roofing market as we go through this year and into 2026 and beyond?
I, I I think the biggest thing is the further integration of either these stormwater management tools or green roof and solar, where we're combining multiple technologies to take advantage of the horizontal space. I always say, when I was in Chicago, or I spent a bulk of my career in larger urban centers, right? That we don't
Hmm.
see a lot of green roofs out in rural USA. It's just it
Yeah.
doesn't pencil. But um, we have these major urban centers where land is at a premium. We want to maximize our square foot, and that horizontal space on the roof is valuable square foot to the building. And so, how do we employ that so it's a usable space, potentially with an amenity deck, so it's managing stormwater, so we might be eliminating detention tanks, reaping some of the other benefits like insulative value. And then how do we start to combine those so that we get the most bang for our buck? Because very few building owners, are altruistic, right? We all have we might have that as the beginning objective in our project and well-intentioned. But at the end of the day, there's real dollars and cents at play. And so we need it to go from a novelty or a cool feature to providing some actual quantifiable benefits for the project. And so one of the things I've talked about stormwater management a lot, but we're also seeing a combination of green and PV, and there's a number of solutions available on the market today that are using vegetated roof to ballast the PV. So at least up until last year, and we'll kind of see how that progresses moving into 2025 in the next few years. But you get in that case, we're using the vegetated roof to ballast the photovoltaic. Uh, it's considered part of the PV system, and so
Hmm.
your grant or any kind of rebates can help apply and cover the cost. So you're getting the benefits of the vegetated roof assembly, insulative values. You're protecting your membrane, which for a long-time building owner or long-term building owner is a significant benefit. And then you're getting the benefits of the PV as well. There's a symbiotic relationship there between them. And so we're doing a project in New York. It actually starts installing this week that has green roof and solar. And we're continuing to see a much greater interest in that. And you look at those two technologies independently, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap investment by the owner,
No.
but
Hmm.
there's clearly enough ROI that it makes sense.
What's the coolest green roof that you built in your repertoire of projects over the years? You think's one of your favorites?
Um, it's like children. It's tough to pick just one. It involved pretty heavily in the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art, which is coming up. And I say involved pretty heavily from the manufacturer side. There's a
Hmm.
huge team there. Really impressive scale of work and project and commitment from kind of a unique owner there, obviously. But that's a great project. And then every green roof project is a little different. And so, the interaction between envelope consultants, landscape architects, I think, the project we're working on right now, Inwood, in New York is, combining green roof and solar is just, it's really neat to see those technologies come together. You know, we it, they're all it's just it's continually interesting, continually innovative. One of the things that we've tried to do is we built out our program here with our ParaGREEN vegetated roof assembly and our amenity systems, stormwater systems, is provide the tools, right? It's about providing the tools. Every project's a little different. We have
Mhm.
membrane considerations depending on the structure. We have overburden considerations depending on what's going above the membrane and what that's used for helps determine, how that assembly goes together. And so it's the ability to coordinate with designers, project teams on a day-by-day basis. We also have a really neat project coming online this spring. We're going to start installing membrane here. Our contractor is in Memphis, called Memphis Brooks Museum of Art, and so that's going to be a phenomenal project too, right there on the river. And that's a big green roof with architect by the name of Archimania, and then landscape architect Olin. So just neat to collaborate with so many great designers and technical people.
I get it. I've been building magazines for 25 years, so they're all special. Some of the bigger ones, they're great, but some of these ones are maybe a little smaller folio wise. They were just as cool. So, I just like it saying, "Hey, look, I built that," and
Yeah.
I say, "Yeah, man, I'm helping those people save some water and make their roofs look green." If any of our listeners out there they were thinking about incorporating a green roof. Maybe it's a new build, maybe it's a renovation on a reuse project, and they wanted to run some questions by you or just get your feedback. How would someone reach out to you?
Sure. You could email me at rick.kile@cplast.com. So that's rick.kile at cplast, SIPLAST.com. Or you could call me at 847-814-8213.
All right, there you go. So if you're thinking about a project, and I'll put that stuff in the description as well, his email, Rick's email and cell. If you're thinking about incorporating something you've never done it before, definitely talk to someone that's on the cutting edge and the front edge of things. And especially when he was building some gardens with his grandma way back when, or her mother, right? The bottom line is he was getting his hands dirty. So. Uh, Call them. See what the opportunities and the options are, and you never know. And it's a line item like anything else. And but you can save water, you can help your erosion control, and you can make better use of your space. And it's a very cool thing when people go up there. Oh my God, I never thought I would find a green roof up here. You never know. So, uh, you know, call Mr. Kyle up and see if he can help you in any way. Um, if there was one positive thought or phrase as we finish up here, as people are going in, we're starting the year out, we're going into the second month of Q1. Uh, what would be the positive thought that you want to leave with our listeners out there to ponder?
When you prompted this question ahead of time, David, I laughed to myself because if my in my family between my mom and my sister, I'm the pessimist, and they always call me Mr. Positivity, but sarcastically. So,
Yeah.
but I think it is, regardless of political conditions, there are opportunities that exist to provide technical expertise and solutions. Building products and especially roofing and waterproofing is a solutions-based business. And so as we continue to innovate and provide solutions to our designers and contractors that we work with, that there's always going to be opportunity that comes from that.
Hey, innovation, opportunity, I'll take that all day long, every day, every week, every month, for eternity, because without those kind of things, everything's going to be basically status quo in my opinion. And just a good way to go day to day, in building construction. So listen, if you're out there, call Mr. Kyle up. This man's an expert. He's been doing it forever. And if you never thought about a green roof or for your building or maybe your residence as well, it's a nice add-on and you can get your hands dirty too. You can put some garden up there too. You never know. So, hey, listen, if anyone wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Hey, Mr. Kyle got on here because of a press release. I liked it. We went back and forth with the publicist. Boom, here he is. And so very tough to get in the magazine. Look, we post content all day long. So you could send us a new product release, an anniversary for your company, a charity golf tournament you've done, a new project. We look at everything. We post stuff all day long. And we send you the links so you can share it. It's good for your SEO, which is your search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. And but it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it and find a place for it. And like I said, tough to get in the magazine, but we have a bunch of platforms. We post content all day long, and we'd love to say, let us judge it. Okay, just send it to me. My turnaround time is probably 24, 48 hours. Boom, we send you the link, and you can share it on your social platforms, and it's a win-win. So. Uh, a couple things as we finish up here. Number one, I want you, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. So you can get home, have dinner with your spouse, your kids, your pets, whatever, and be able to get some REM sleep and go do it the next day. Number two, we want you to stay hydrated. That's the athlete in me. When you get dehydrated, you make mistakes, and you drop passes, and you get hurt on the construction site. If you drink water, put some electrolytes in there, you'll stay liquefied and you'll sleep better and you'll be able to get through it the next day. And also hit the like button so people can find this episode with the algorithms and talk about green roofs. And hopefully Mr. Kyle will get some phone calls. And last but not least, look, it's my resolution. Okay. Magic mind in the morning. Okay. Stay clear, concise, collective, calm, no jitters. And at night, if you want to get a good night's sleep, take the elixir, take a little shot 30 minutes before you go to bed. And once again, I'll leave the discount code for the bundle in the description. So Rick, pleasure meeting you. I'm coming out to I think I've got my West Coast swing is in May. And I'd love to go see a green roof if you're around, if you're not on the road or whatever. I'd love to connect and I don't think I've ever seen one, kind of in build stage. I've only seen them in final stage, so it would be great
Okay.
to see one if you're open to it. I'll take you
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. Let's make it happen.
All right, it sounds good. So, listen, everybody. It's the last week of January. Have a great constructive rest of the week, and good luck to the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and the Pios and everybody else that's playing lax start next week. And it's going to be an amazing year. It's an amazing time to be alive, and just take one day at a time. And stay positive and roll with the punches. So, any final words before we sign off, Rick, out there in Vegas?
Just appreciate the chat, David, and good getting to know you a little bit.
I appreciate it. So, everybody, I'm going to sign off from Lake Lanier, actually Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam, about 25 miles north of downtown ATL. We're called the LA of the South, by the way, if you don't know that. I'm just a Yankee living down here since '92. But listen, everybody, have a great rest of the week and have a fantastic rest of 2025. It's going to be an amazing year. Tighten your seatbelt because there's never going to be a dull day. And Rick, I look forward to seeing you out in SoCal on one of your projects, and we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Rick, pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. All right.
Likewise. Thanks, David.
All right. Ciao, everybody. See ya.